It was supposed to be an ordinary evening. No screams, no police lights, no tragedy, just a young woman sitting on the couch and a man pacing the living room, angry over something so small it sounded almost unbelievable. A Wi-Fi password. Within minutes, words turned to threats, threats turned to violence, and by the time neighbors rushed out of their apartments, the night had already turned deadly. This is the story of how a simple refusal, a moment of frustration, and a hidden storm inside one man exploded into one of the most shocking domestic crimes in the neighborhood's history. The night began like any other, quiet, humid, and still. The kind of night where most people were winding down, scrolling through their phones, finishing dinner, or preparing for bed. But inside apartment 2B, something much darker was already brewing beneath the surface. It wasn't the kind of darkness you see coming. It wasn't planned. It wasn't plotted. It wasn't even logical. It was the kind of darkness that grows slowly, buried under days, months, maybe even years of frustration, ego, jealousy, financial pressure, and emotional immaturity. And on this particular night, all it needed was a spark. Her name was Lydia, a 27-year-old who worked from home and paid the internet bill every month. She was calm, by nature, introverted, and protective of her space. For months, she had allowed her neighbor and occasional friend, Marcus, to use the apartment Wi-Fi whenever he needed. It wasn't a big deal at first. He would ask politely, she would share it, and life moved on. But recently, things had changed. Marcus had lost his job. He was home all day. He started streaming movies, downloading heavy files, and even giving the password out to 2 friends. The connection slowed down. Lydia's work calls started freezing. And finally, she had to change the password. When he knocked that night, she already knew what he wanted. "Hey, can I get the new password?" he asked. A simple question. A simple request. But what came next would start the chain reaction that ended in a crime the whole neighborhood still talks about. Lydia barely looked up from her laptop. "I can't keep giving it out, Marcus. I really need it stable for work." It should have ended there. A normal adult conversation. A disagreement at worst. But instead, something snapped. Marcus wasn't just frustrated. He was embarrassed, angry, feeling like life had cornered him. And in his mind, Lydia's refusal wasn't about a password. It was an insult, a humiliation, a reminder that he was depending on someone who now told him no. His voice tightened. "So that's it? After all the times I asked nicely? You think you're better than everybody now?" She sighed, the kind of sigh that says, "I don't have the energy for this tonight." That sigh lit a fuse. "Look," she said firmly but calmly, "it's nothing personal. I just need my internet to work. I can't keep sharing it. Please understand." But Marcus wasn't listening anymore. Anger has a way of swallowing logic whole. He began pacing, muttering, shaking his head. His tone escalated. His breathing grew heavier. Every second the argument stretched, the atmosphere in that small apartment thickened, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Neighbors would later say they heard his voice rising, heard something slam, heard Lydia saying, "Stop, calm down, you're overreacting." But anger makes even the smallest issue feel like a personal attack. To Marcus, the refusal wasn't about Wi-Fi. It was about control, respect, and a life spiraling out of his hands. Inside the apartment, Lydia closed her laptop, stood up, and tried to create space. She moved toward the hallway, putting a few steps between them. She wanted to avoid confrontation. She wanted him to cool off. But her calmness only made him feel more unstable. "Why are you acting like this?" he demanded. "I just said no. That's all," she whispered. To her, it was a boundary. To him, it was rejection. To anger, it was fuel. His voice exploded. "I asked you for one thing, and you can't even." She cut him off. "Marcus, stop shouting." That was the moment the argument crossed the line. That was the moment he stepped closer. That was the moment her chest tightened with fear. Anger doesn't just speak, it advances. It gets louder. It gets bigger. It fills the room like smoke. Lydia backed up. "Please leave. You're scaring me." Those words, "you're scaring me," are words no one should ever have to say in their own home. But to an unstable, emotionally overwhelmed mind, they can trigger an even deeper explosion. Marcus suddenly felt like he was the victim, like she was painting him as dangerous, like she was judging him. And when ego mixes with insecurity, the result is unpredictable. He kicked the coffee table. A glass fell and shattered. Lydia flinched and rushed toward the bedroom, pulling out her phone to call a cousin. But she didn't dial fast enough. He followed her. "Don't walk away from me," he screamed. The neighbors heard it now, loud, violent, echoing down the hall. A chair fell. Something slammed into the wall. A picture frame cracked. The argument that started over a password was now a full-blown storm. Fear turned Lydia's voice shaky. "Marcus, please, just go home." But Marcus had crossed the line where reason collapses, where pride blinds a person, where a moment of madness becomes a lifetime of regret. "You think you can treat me like trash?" he shouted. "No, Marcus, I just said." "Liar." The argument had reached its breaking point. Moments later, one neighbor heard a chilling silence, the kind of silence that follows something irreversible, the kind of silence that means the night has changed forever. What happened next would send shockwaves through the entire neighborhood. A life would be lost, a neighbor would be arrested, and the world would ask the unanswerable question: how did a Wi-Fi password become the trigger for murder? On the surface, it looked like a simple disagreement, a neighbor asking for a Wi-Fi password and a woman saying no. But tragedies like this never come from one moment alone. They are born from layers, layers of stress, insecurity, pride, resentment, and silent frustrations that no one sees until the damage is done. Behind the four walls of apartment 2B and the small room down the hall where Marcus stayed, there was an invisible war that had been brewing long before the night turned deadly. People often think violence erupts suddenly, but more often it simmers. The truth is that Marcus had been unraveling for months. When he lost his job as a warehouse assistant, he tried to keep his spirits up, telling people it was temporary. But the weeks became months, and the pressure grew heavier. His savings evaporated. His phone bill went unpaid. His world became smaller. He stopped going out, stopped meeting friends, stopped looking for help. And what does a man do when he feels powerless? Sometimes he looks for control in the wrong places. The Wi-Fi had become one of the few things in his life he still felt entitled to. It was his escape: movies, games, endless scrolling. The only distraction from a collapsing life he didn't know how to fix. To Marcus, losing access wasn't about the password. It was about losing another piece of stability. People in the building thought Lydia and Marcus were friends. They spoke kindly to each other in the hall. They once shared snacks, casual jokes, and short conversations. But internally, the relationship had shifted. Lydia began noticing changes in Marcus. Asterisk, he knocked too often. Asterisk, he stayed too long. Asterisk, he made comments about her having an easy life. Asterisk, he grew more irritated when she was busy. Every time she changed the password to keep outsiders off it, he took it personally. And slowly, resentment began crawling into the spaces between them. Marcus started thinking Lydia looked down on him, that she thought she was smarter, better, more responsible. He felt humiliated asking for help. And humiliation mixed with pride is a dangerous combination. Lydia, on her side, felt trapped. She didn't want to offend him, but she didn't want to be used either. She told her cousin once, "He's going through a lot, but I can't keep feeling guilty for every boundary I set." Her cousin replied, "Then stop letting him in so easily." Good advice, but too late. Neighbors noticed changes too. One recalled seeing Marcus sitting alone on the stairway for hours, staring into space. Another mentioned hearing him arguing loudly with someone on the phone, or maybe just with himself. Someone else noticed him punching the elevator button so hard it cracked. But no one knew what to do. No one imagined what these signs were leading to. He wasn't the type to cause trouble, until he suddenly was. Lydia also observed small but alarming signs. Asterisk, he became territorial. Asterisk, he raised his voice more. Asterisk, he started acting entitled to things he didn't pay for. Asterisk, he once said, "If you change that password again, we're going to have a problem." She brushed it off. She didn't want conflict. She told herself he was just stressed. But human behavior rarely explodes without warning, and Marcus had been warning everyone in his own silent way. Psychologists say that most extreme acts in domestic or neighbor disputes are symbolic. The trigger is not the real trigger. The anger has deeper roots. For Marcus, the Wi-Fi represented asterisk, his slipping dignity, asterisk, his growing dependence, asterisk, his frustration with life, asterisk, his loss of control, asterisk, his sense of failure. And Lydia's refusal activated all these buried emotions at once. Meanwhile, Lydia had her own internal battles. She was tired emotionally and mentally. She worked long hours, dealt with difficult clients, and carried her own private stresses. The Wi-Fi issue was the boundary she finally decided to enforce. But boundaries, when drawn toward unstable people, often feel like rejection. On the night of the incident, the apartment itself felt heavy, as if the walls were absorbing the tension that had been building for weeks. Every object that fell, every voice that echoed, every step Marcus took toward Lydia, all carried the weight of months of internal collapse. He felt ignored. She felt overwhelmed. He felt disrespected. She felt invaded. He felt powerless. She felt unsafe. Two emotional storms colliding in one small room. And when storms collide, destruction is inevitable. One of the worst feelings in the world is feeling trapped. Trapped in your own emotions, trapped in your own life, trapped inside a home that doesn't feel peaceful anymore. Marcus felt trapped in failure. Lydia felt trapped in fear. Both of them faced situations they didn't know how to defuse. Experts say anger grows when someone feels asterisk powerless, asterisk embarrassed, asterisk ignored, asterisk controlled, asterisk inferior, asterisk or cornered. Marcus felt all those things. But instead of confronting them in a healthy way, he projected them onto the only person nearby, Lydia. In the minutes leading up to the deadly moment, something shifted inside Marcus. Something only those who study violent behavior can recognize. Psychologists call it emotional flooding, a state where the brain is overwhelmed and stops processing logic. His breathing changed. His eyes became unfocused. His voice cracked between anger and desperation. Lydia noticed the change too. That's why she backed away. That's why she tried to calm him. That's why she said, "Please leave." But once a person crosses the emotional threshold of rage, the ability to stop is almost impossible. Inside Marcus, everything exploded at once. Asterisk shame, asterisk anger, asterisk jealousy, asterisk exhaustion, asterisk frustration, asterisk loss, asterisk hopelessness. And the Wi-Fi password became the fuse that lit all of it. This wasn't just a fight anymore. This was a boiling point, a psychological breaking point, a tragedy forged by months of pressure. The house, the same house where they once shared jokes and neighborly kindness, had become a battlefield of unspoken resentments. The night wasn't deadly because of a password. It was deadly because two people carried burdens no one else saw, and one of them finally shattered under the weight. What happened next would shock the entire neighborhood. There are moments in life when time slows down, when every sound, every breath, every heartbeat feels louder than it should. Moments when you know something terrible is about to happen, but you can't stop it. Moments when an ordinary room becomes the scene of a nightmare. That was the atmosphere inside Lydia's apartment as the argument reached its peak. A small disagreement had become a wildfire. A simple refusal had become a personal insult. A quiet evening had become a countdown to tragedy. And when the final fuse lit, the night exploded. Marcus's breathing had changed. Heavy, fast, erratic. Every step he took toward Lydia felt like a tremor shaking the room. The tension was no longer emotional. It had become physical. Lydia felt fear rising in her chest. She wasn't dealing with the neighbor she knew. She was facing a man whose mind had broken under the pressure of months of stress, frustration, and rejection. She raised her hands. "Marcus, stop. Please stop. "You're not thinking clearly." But those words didn't calm him. They inflamed him. To a person drowning in rage, calm down sounds like mockery. To someone feeling powerless, stop feels like control. To someone whose ego is cracked, please feels like pity. And pity can be just as dangerous as anger. Marcus stepped closer. Lydia backed up until her shoulder hit the wall. A chair fell. The lamp shook. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. Everything was escalating far too quickly. Marcus suddenly grabbed the coffee table and shoved it aside. It slammed into the wall with a force that rattled the picture frames. Lydia jumped, trying to slip past him. "Leave," she shouted. "Get out before I call someone." But the threat of calling someone didn't scare him. It triggered the final break. In his mind, calling someone meant humiliation. It meant she saw him as dangerous. It meant the world would know he had lost control. People with compromised mental states make the worst decisions when they feel cornered. And Marcus felt completely cornered. He grabbed her wrist. Lydia screamed, "Let go of me. You're not listening. Let go. You think you can ignore me." Their voices collided in a violent storm. Then something happened. Something witnesses would later describe as a sound nobody ever forgets. A loud thud, a gasp, a crash. Marcus had shoved her, not a push meant to scare, not a tap, but a hard, impulsive shove fueled by months of bottled rage. And Lydia fell. Her back hit the edge of the open bedroom door. Her head struck the wooden frame. Her body collapsed onto the floor. For a second, the room froze. The argument fell silent. Marcus's face went pale. Lydia didn't move. He didn't expect this. He didn't mean for it to go this far. But rage doesn't think about consequences. It just reacts. And by the time he realized what he had done, the irreversible had already happened. Marcus knelt beside her, shaking, touching her shoulders, calling her name. "Lydia, Lydia, get up. Please, please get up." But she didn't respond. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes fluttered. Blood appeared near her temple. He pressed his hands against it, trembling. Come on, wake up." For the first time that night, reality hit him. The anger evaporated. The pride vanished. The fear returned, but now it was fear of consequences. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was a crime scene. He stood up, pacing frantically. Should he call 911? Should he run? Should he hide? His mind raced, searching for any way out, any excuse, any illusion of escape. But escape was no longer possible. While Marcus panicked inside, the hallway outside was already stirring. A neighbor from across the hall had heard the crash. Another heard a scream. Someone else heard something fall and break. At 10:41 p.m., a young woman from the next apartment sent a message to her roommate. "Something is wrong in 2B. I heard yelling, and now it's quiet. Too quiet." At 10:43 p.m., an elderly neighbor stepped out of his door after hearing Marcus shouting in panic. No, wake up, please wake up." The neighbor froze. The voice didn't sound angry anymore. It sounded desperate. People began gathering near their doors, whispering, confused, anxious. And then, someone knocked loudly on Lydia's door. "Hey, is everything okay in there?" No response. Marcus pressed his back against the door, breathing hard, terrified. The knocking grew louder. "Open the door." "Marcus? Lydia?" Still no answer. Someone dialed 911. Marcus knew the police were coming. He knew he couldn't undo what he had done. But he tried anyway. He lifted Lydia, trying to put her on the bed. His hands shook violently. Her head lolled to the side. Blood smeared across his shirt. He panicked even more. What do I do? What do I do?" he whispered. He tried wiping the blood, tried straightening the room, tried to erase the chaos. But panic makes a person sloppy, and nothing could erase the truth. At exactly 10:49 p.m., neighbors heard the faint sound of sirens growing closer. Red and blue lights flickered against the building walls. Someone shouted from the hallway, "They're here." Marcus froze. The sirens grew louder. The footsteps of officers echoed up the stairwell. The radios crackled. A firm knock shook the door. "Police, open up." Silence. Police. Open the door now. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. His world, already falling apart, shattered completely. With trembling hands, he finally opened the door. Officers burst inside. They saw him first. Sweaty, shaking, red-eyed, hands trembling and covered in blood. They saw Lydia next. Unmoving, pale, lying across the bed. The scene was clear. The story was written. The night had ended. An officer whispered, "Call EMS." Now, another cuffed Marcus. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He just stared at the floor, knowing he had crossed a line he could never cross back. The neighbors watched from their doors, stunned, horrified, unable to comprehend how a simple argument over a Wi-Fi password had ended in tragedy. The night wasn't deadly because of technology. It wasn't deadly because of a password. It was deadly because someone's breaking point collided with someone else's boundary, and the result was irreversible. By the time the clock hit midnight, the building that had once been filled with soft music, quiet conversations, and normal life was now drowning in police tape, flashing lights, and whispered questions. What began as a simple disagreement between two neighbors had transformed into a scene of unbearable grief and irreversible consequences. A Wi-Fi password, something people share without thinking, had become the trigger for a night no one in that apartment building would ever forget. Inside the apartment, the air felt heavy, as if it refused to move. Lydia was taken away by paramedics, but her fate had already been sealed long before they reached the elevator. She did not survive her injuries. Her life, a life of kindness, quiet strength, and steady determination, ended over something that should never have escalated. Officers moved through the room, photographing every detail. Asterisk the shattered glass. Asterisk the overturned chair. Asterisk the smeared blood on the floor. Asterisk the cracked bedroom door. Asterisk the phone lying face down. It didn't look like the scene of a planned crime. It looked like the aftershock of an explosion. Sudden, chaotic, senseless. Detective Harris, the lead investigator, later said, "This wasn't a monster. It was a man who let his emotions kill someone." And that made the tragedy even more painful. Marcus sat on the floor in handcuffs, trembling, his head buried in his palms. The rage that had fueled him earlier was gone, burned out, drained, replaced by something far more devastating: regret. He kept whispering, I didn't mean to. She just made me feel like nothing." Those words, which he repeated over and over, told investigators everything they needed to know. This wasn't premeditated. It was emotional collapse. But collapse or not, a life was gone, and someone had to answer for it. Officers lifted him to his feet. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He didn't speak again. As they escorted him out of the apartment, the neighbors watched in painful silence. Asterisk, the elderly man from across the hall covered his mouth. Asterisk, a young couple held hands tightly. Asterisk, a mother pulled her child closer. No one could believe what they were seeing. A man they had chatted with in the hallway, a man who smiled sometimes, laughed sometimes, was now being taken out with blood still drying on his hands. At the precinct, Marcus sat across from detectives, eyes hollow, hands trembling. His voice cracked when they asked him what happened. It was the password, she wouldn't give it. I got mad. I just pushed her. I didn't think. I swear I didn't think. The detectives listened quietly. The confession wasn't shocking. The crime scene already told the story. But what struck them was the raw emptiness in his voice. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't defensive. He was broken. One detective later said, if he could have reversed time by 1 minute, he would have. But life doesn't give back minutes. It only gives consequences. Marcus was charged with asterisk manslaughter, asterisk assault, asterisk negligent homicide, asterisk and reckless endangerment. The law doesn't bend just because the cause seems small. The effect was catastrophic. Months later, the courtroom was filled with quiet tension. Lydia's family sat in the front row, her mother clutching tissues, her father staring forward with a broken stillness no parent should ever know. The prosecutor recounted the night in painful detail. The argument, the shove, the fatal fall, the panic, the confession. Marcus sat with his attorney, looking 10 years older than he actually was. His hands shook as the prosecutor repeated the words. All of this because of a Wi-Fi password. The courtroom gasped. A story so ridiculous, so petty, had somehow turned deadly. Marcus bowed his head. Tears fell. When it was his turn to speak, his voice was barely audible. I loved her as a friend. I never wanted to hurt her. I just lost control. I'm sorry. But apologies do not resurrect the dead, and sorrow does not erase trauma. The judge, with a voice full of gravity, addressed the courtroom. This was a tragedy born of anger, pride, and emotional instability. One life is gone. Another is permanently damaged. There are no winners here. Marcus was sentenced to 22 years in prison, not because he was evil, but because he killed someone in a moment of uncontrollable rage. Back at the apartment building, the shock lingered for months. Some neighbors felt guilty. I heard shouting, "I should have knocked earlier." I thought it was just a normal argument. I didn't think it could end like this. Others were scared. If something so small could lead to something so deadly, what else could happen behind closed doors? People became more cautious, more quiet, more guarded. The building was no longer the friendly place it once was. Lydia's door stayed shut, untouched. Her decorations remained, her welcome mat untouched, a painful reminder of the life that was cut short. Crimes like this forced the world to confront a disturbing truth. It is never the Wi-Fi password. It is never the remote control. It is never the dishes left undone. It is never the small argument. Those are not the cause. They are the final spark. The real cause is always deeper. Asterisk unaddressed anger. Asterisk mental instability. Asterisk emotional wounds. Asterisk financial stress. Asterisk insecurity. Asterisk loneliness. Asterisk unspoken resentments. These are the ingredients of a deadly night. When someone is silently collapsing inside, the smallest trigger becomes the biggest explosion. And that is what happened to Marcus. He wasn't fighting for Wi-Fi. He was fighting the failure he felt inside. He was fighting the weight of a life he couldn't control. But instead of seeking help, he let his emotions take a life. And that one moment of lost control destroyed. Asterisk Lydia's life. Asterisk Marcus's future. Asterisk 2 families. Asterisk an entire community. All because of a boundary that collided with brokenness. At Lydia's memorial, her aunt said something that echoed across the crowd. Conflict is inevitable, but violence is a choice. In the end, this tragedy reminds us of a hard truth. Some nights don't turn deadly because of the argument. They turn deadly because of the emotional storm behind it. A password didn't kill Lydia. Anger did. Pride did. Unaddressed pain did. And that is the lesson the world must remember.